The next station will be Fortuna 69.
To be honest, a pretty decent chunk of what they've teased in DevStream 137 looks super. Reworked companions, Titania getting buffed even more, the Baryuk augment, the changes to Kuvaliches, etc. I still don't see people really mustering the interest in playing Railjack, but hey, this is a good start for new shit to do, if you ask me. Despite all of the stuff they've announced so far, the one thing that really still irks me is the user interface that DE Pablo posted on the Warframe forums a bit over a week ago. Does it look good? Yes, it does a bit. However, much like any given Twitch thought, it only looks good, and that's about it. Although it's pretty fucking obvious that everyone likes having pretty things to look at, which is why some people are eager to shell out tons of money on high-end computer systems, if there's no sustenance or any type of useful information to offer, then it really doesn't matter how pretty it looks. In the case of a user interface, if you have to dig through in order to understand what's being presented, then it fails at its job of being a user interface. That's not me pretending to be an expert on programming or anything, by the way, that's just me restating something that I googled not even 10 minutes ago. Warframe is a game that already isn't user-friendly, which is why new players more often than not have to keep the Warframe wiki open in a separate tab, purely because Warframe doesn't exactly do a good job of explaining how anything works to a new player. Although this is something that DE is working on, I wouldn't be surprised if it were put on hold as of this moment, given how many things DE has to develop right now. Especially considering how the user interface basically evolved into a meme overnight, I think it would be prudent of DE if they look into allowing the players to create mods for the game that affect the in-game UI. In case you're unclear, I'm not referring to these kinds of mods, I'm talking about these kinds of mods. As far as I know, or at least, judging by the open job positions that DE has posted on Glassdoor, DE either doesn't have the experience or doesn't have the manpower to properly make UI, so to speak. Allowing the community full permission to create their own UI mods for Warframe would not only solve the issue of making a new UI that players want, but it also allows the community to effectively create exactly what it needs without worry of being altered or bastardized by DE. As an example, World of Warcraft's community has complete capability of creating add-ons which can alter the experience of the player. This isn't something that's done just for fun, it's something which has been recognized both by media and analyzed for scholarly research. For Warframe, supporting its community by allowing virtually anyone to create add-ons that can change the in-game UI would not only somewhat lower the workload from DE when it comes to making a user interface that people want, but it also opens up a new avenue for community-made items to be put into the game, similar to how Tenogen exists as a way for players to submit their own cosmetic creations to DE for potential availability in-game. However, I imagine that add-ons for Warframe are really only a possibility if DE revises their own end-user license agreement, as add-ons could technically fall under the do not use unauthorized third-party software, tools or content designed to modify the software, the service or the game experience part of the agreement. If that can be revised, I'm fully certain that some players of the community would be happy to develop their own UI add-ons, whether it be for personal use or for the public domain. After all, it can be easier for the community to have the UI of their dreams if one of their fellow community members is in charge of developing it, rather than one of DE's employees, as nobody but the community itself understands what players want. Of course, a bunch of problems would then arise. For one, it would fall upon the respective community coders themselves to upkeep any created add-ons, meaning that even the smallest hotfix could potentially ruin add-on integration. Spaghetti code can be a problem, but then again, I haven't programmed since high school, so this is likely just me being an idiot that doesn't understand how code works. Secondly, DE would have to establish some kind of quality control for user-generated add-ons, because nobody wants to have a remake of Steam Greenlight. Lastly, some people might be put off by the prospect of creating add-ons but not being able to make a profit off of them. The way I see it, community-made UI can only work if it's available for the community to use for free, not only because directly making money off of a free-to-play game wouldn't exactly be alright with DE, but also because there is no good reason to place a decent user interface behind a paywall. Regardless, we've seen it before. Nobody likes paid mods. It should be pretty fucking obvious that all of this is merely hypothetical, because DE obviously has a lot on their plate to go through. My point is, supporting the community with user-generated add-ons should be on DE's list of things to think about. Only cosmetic add-ons, of course. The last thing anyone wants is for Warframe to become another Chinese click farm. Thank you for watching.